I'm going to show you how to do the geometric constraint activity in Autodesk Inventor. So the first thing you need to do is go up to the application button and go to manage and go to projects. You need to make sure that you have your check mark by U5 for Unit 5 practice because this is a practice activity that we're going to do. So make sure that's taken care of, and then you can go ahead and open the file Geometric Constraints. So what we're going to do with geometric constraints is we're going to apply, instead of dimensional constraints, we're going to apply geometric constraints to our sketch. If you go ahead and double click on the sketch that's in this drawing sheet to open it, it'll open up your sketch tools and you can find your geometric constraints right here. The first geometric constraint we need to do is perpendicular. So you come up here and find perpendicular. You click it. First you click the line that you want to change, and then you click the line that you want it to be perpendicular to. And so we just created these two lines and made a constraint so they're perpendicular, where they have a 90-degree angle right here. The next one, make the lines parallel. You just get your parallel constraint, and so that's this one right here. Click that. Again, click the line that you want to change. Click the way you want to change it. And so now all three of those lines are parallel. The next one on your sheet you need to dimension first, so it tells you to dimension a 2-inch diameter. So I'll get my dimension tool, click and drag out a dimension, type in 2 to make it a 2-inch diameter. Once you have that done, it tells you to fix circles 1 and 2. So the fixed constraint looks like a lock, so I'll click that. Click circle 1, click circle 2. I will get my tangent constraint then and make 3 tangent to 1 and 3 tangent to 2. And so there's an example of using a couple constraints, the fixed constraint and then the tangent constraint. We'll use the tangent constraint again on the next one right here. On this one you're going to just click tangent and you're going to make the circle tangent to both lines. So we'll make it tangent to that line, and then I'll click the circle again and make it tangent to that line. Next we're going to use the conceding constraint, and so the first thing you need to do with that one is fix point C. And so I'll use my fix again, and I'm just going to click on the circle to make sure this point is fixed. And then you're going to click the conceding constraint, click on the point that starts your line, and then click the point you want it to match up with. Same thing with B, and that takes care of using the conceding constraint. Next one over is making circles concentric. Concentric means that they have the same center point. So I will go ahead and click my concentric constraint, click the circle that I want to change, the one that I want it to line up with, again the one I want to change, the one I want it to line up with, and now all the circles have the same center point. Next one, we want to make these two lines collinear, or we want to make them one line. So the collinear constraint is here. I'll just click again the first line I want to move, the one I want it to move to, and it will make those lines collinear. Next constraint, horizontal. You want to make these two lines horizontal, and so you just click the horizontal constraint. Again, the first thing that you click is the one you want to change, but in this case we're just making them horizontal, so you just click the two lines and they will become horizontal. Make these lines vertical, so we'll click the vertical constraint, and then again just click all three lines and they will move and become vertical. The next one over, we want to make an equilateral triangle, and so we want to use the equal constraint. First we want to click the line we want to change, and then select the line you want to change it to. Same thing on the next one, and you have an equilateral triangle now. Next one, we want to make the circles the same size using the equal constraint. And so I say, this is the circle I want to change, and I want to make it the same size as the smaller one. I click and it does that for me. And lastly, we want to line up the centers of these circles on a horizontal plane. And so I can use my horizontal constraint. And I can say that I want the center of that one to line up with the center of this one. And with the center of this one to line up with the center of that one. And it will move those circles so they all have the same horizontal, they're in the same horizontal plane for the center point. The last thing that you need to do is go ahead and right click, and you can say show all constraints, and all of the constraints that you just added to these objects will pop up. If you need to get rid of a constraint, you can click the X and delete it. Another point that I wanted to make is geometry can only do what you ask it to do. If this line is perpendicular to this line, it cannot be parallel to it also. That's impossible. So if I were to click parallel and then try to make these two lines parallel each other, it will not work. It will not allow you to do that. So again, I'll show you. I try to click the two lines and make them parallel. I get an error message. Adding the constraint will over-constrain the sketch. What it's telling you is it's not possible to do that. So if you wanted to make these parallel, you could delete the constraint, and then go back and actually make them parallel once you have the constraints deleted. So that's an activity on geometric constraints.